My returning sponsor of Turn the Page Books and Music Store is the place to go to find your next read or your next record to add to your collection. It is all about the atmosphere of this place. As soon as you walk through the door, you are hit with the most magnificent lighting, the wooden floors, the smell of old books, and of course, the sound of flipping through LPs. What could be any better than that? Well, Rex. Rex is the owner of Turn the Page Books and Music Store. He is just the man to see about anything to do with music. So make sure you head over there and support him on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course, just stop by at the store. You will not want to leave. Thank you, Rex, for supporting this season. It's such an honor. I have to take a second and say a huge thank you to my first half of the season sponsor, which is a Simple Farm. I am honored to work alongside a business who I truly believe in their passion, their purpose, and their product. And a Simple Farm is just that. There is nothing better than working with a family-owned and operated business. They're nestled in the heart of rural Wabash County and is inspired by country living, handmade traditions, and a deep love for herbal and medicinal plants. From handcrafted soaps and herbal salves to cozy home goods and repurposed creations, each product is thoughtfully made using nature-inspired ingredients and a passion for simple, natural living. Rooted in creativity, heritage, and old-fashioned farmhouse values, a Simple Farm celebrates the healing beauty of herbs, the comfort of handmade goods, and the charm of a slower way of life in rural Indiana. Folks, you're going to want to pick up some of their products, so make sure you head over to a Simple Farm on Facebook and Instagram, and I'll have their website linked below so you can just easily click on any of their platforms and you can find them automatically. Like I said, I truly believe in them. And Kristen Reynolds, if you want to learn more about her, there's 2 articles on my website, and there's a podcast with Kristen Reynolds and her son Vincent. So make sure you head over to season 1 of Here in My Time and you can hear their interview. Well, hey y'all, welcome to today's episode. I am so glad that you guys are here. It means the world to me that you tuned in to this show. I just want to apologize for a little bit of the delay on last week's episode. I know we didn't have one, and I appreciate everybody's understanding. Sometimes technical issues happen, and I'm just not quick enough, or, things happen in life, and it's kind of part of figuring it all out as I do so, and I am so thankful that you're here, though. I have to say, I bet you're all wondering who won the giveaway, and she is giving a giveaway of a box full of handmade goods that are not only healthy for your skin, but also just in general your lifestyle. So, who's the winner? I'm going to do a drum roll. I'm going to try. That really stinked. Okay. Do not judge my drum rolling skills on the basis of how awesome this is. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, just forget about it. Fake drum roll. And the winner is Cotty Roberts. I just spinned it. Okay, so I made this little spinner thing on my thing. But anyway, I am so happy, Cotty Roberts. I will be in contact with you soon to get this package to you. Congratulations, and thank you for supporting the show by following both A Simple Farm and me, and it means the world to me. So yay! Thank you so much to Kristen Reynolds and A Simple Farm for sponsoring this show and this beautiful giveaway. They are just, I'm telling you, you're going to love her products. If you didn't win this package, I'm telling you, go over to her website and check her out and get a few of the amazing products that she has on her website. All the information is in the description box below, so make sure you do that. On to the episode, because it's going to be a good and a full one, and I cannot wait for you to hear this. A lot has happened since this episode, not only with Anita and I as becoming friends, but also just some of the stories that I have learned beyond this episode. I'm just going to be quiet now. All right, on to the episode. This is Here in My Time, the podcast dedicated to bridging the gap between generations. I'm your host, Lauren Hunt, a local personal journalist, photographer, documentarian, and a lover of people and their stories, located right here in Wabash, Indiana. Now today I am once again on location, and I am in the beautiful little country town of Andrews. Now I have been in Andrews for a very long time because my dad pastors in Andrews, but today I am sitting in literally the hayloft of this amazing homesteader that I just happened to be stalking on Facebook, Anita Nofsinger. Crushed it. And I'm so glad that you said yes to come on the podcast. We've had several phone conversations, which has been lovely. But I want to kind of introduce you and just kind of, about this podcast is all about meeting new people, and this is our first time meeting face to face, and I think it's a pretty great first meeting. I love it.
Yes, I actually enjoy it so much too right now.
It's so cool because this is like the perfect and the epitome of what it looks like to document somebody's life. Literally sitting in a hay loft and just like listening to the rain. That's what the noise is in the background.
If it wasn't raining today, we would actually be out with the sheep where I'd be shearing today, and we would do it out there.
Yeah, the rain kind of got in your way.
It did, and I actually don't bring the sheep inside the barn to do anything. That's going to be in the future, but for us, we have a Quonset hut and a field barn where we could have done all of this.
Well, this is fun too. I like this. This is so cool. So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Nobody knows you. Maybe a few people might be who follow you, but a lot of my listeners aren't going to know who you are. So tell me a little bit about you.
Where would you like me to start? Now or prior?
Let's start with where were you? Where are you from? Where were you born? And tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Okay. Well, I am actually originally from Wisconsin. You can kind of hear a little bit of the accent, especially when I say the state's name. I have lost it over the years since I have moved to out of state. But growing up, I came from a small town named Barton. It is actually right next to the town of West Bend. West Bend. Us West Benders say kind of one word, but it was the first original town of that area. And I spent my childhood there on the Milwaukee River until I was about 7 years old. And then my parents up and moved to a town south of West Bend within the same county as Jackson. And there again, in Barton, I was, besides the Milwaukee River, it was an old flour mill at the same time with the old race and everything, and the railroad tracks. While in Jackson, feed mill, yes, livestock feed mill, still in operation at the time, and railroad tracks. I never got away from the railroad tracks.
No, I've noticed that. Yeah,
yes.
I've been here.
And there is where I finished growing up until adulthood. And about a month, maybe 2 weeks prior to my 19th birthday, I moved out to the west side of the state, over to where my dad's father had grown up, actually in the Driftless area of Wisconsin. And I moved to my parents' property of 40 acres, which is just literally a house that was built about 1880s or so. Never remodeled, still had the outhouse out back, the barn, the well, and I had a wood-burning furnace, and that's it. Wow. No electricity, nothing. Everybody thought I was Amish, and I'm not. Just because I have long hair doesn't mean I am. And lived that way. I actually was going to college. I mean, that February, I was going for it was the second semester in my second year. So yeah, and that's where I finished out, was going to Richland Center for college for my associates. Oh, wow. And I stayed there.
Now, why did you choose to live that way? Was there, talking to you, I kind of have a feeling of why you chose to live that way, but let me tell the listeners why you possibly lived that way.
Well, there's a few things, and you'll understand once I say it. Is I actually am first generation American. I am also the eldest of the family. And my mother is actually from Hungary. She's from Esztergom, Hungary. Wow. It is 5 miles from the Czechoslovakian border, northern part of Hungary.
Wow.
her and her folks, she was 3 years old. It was the dead of winter. All three of them ran from the Red Russian, as far as I know, for their lives, for the border.
Wow.
Her parents were freedom fighters. This is actually the first time that this is being broadcasted live. Nobody actually knows about it until right now.
Oh my gosh.
Except for those that are probably passed away. I don't know if I'm putting myself in harm's way at this point or not. We'll see. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm not. Mm-hmm. And if it happens, it happens. But my grandparents, if I remember correctly, his name was Frank. And my grandmother was I think, what did I say? It's Magnolia. That's coming from an American standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure what her real name was. It was just Grandma.
Yeah.
Balog. That's all it was. But they fled for the border.
Wow.
And way back when, my mom was born in 54, so it was probably about 1957, 58. Mm-hmm. But over there, in Hungarian, for grandpa, it's called Nagypapa.
Wow.
So Nagypapa was actually a butcher over there in the local village. And he was also a renowned horse trainer over there as well.
Wow.
Yes. So I get some of my skills from him and my love for that as well. As for Nudge Mama, which is grandmother, she actually owned 5 different businesses.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they, outside of doing all of that, my mom was only 3. And all she remembers is her uncle doing backflips in the backyard to entertain her.
Oh gosh, that's so cool.
But that's where it comes to be, is that it was in the backyard. The front yard was nothing but an herb garden.
Oh wow.
They literally farmed everything that they had because it's such a small space. The countries over there are the size of our states. And that's what a lot of Americans fail to realize or forget when they're growing up, because we all do geography. But coming firsthand that way, I could picture this. My mom telling me these stories. And then Nudge Mama, I didn't get much stories from her because she'd always instantly go into Hungarian. I was I'm not fluent in Hungarian, you know. I know very little. But it was just hearing those kind of stories growing up. I was enamored by. And then at the same time, when they got here to the States, Nudge Mama went and wrote to her congressman. It was over, I believe they were in New Jersey or something, where they were staying, and to get Nudge Papa work. And they wrote him back and got him work down in Kentucky on a horse farm.
Oh my gosh.
So Nudge Mama stayed up there with, my mother, and he did that work for a few years before they moved to Ohio. And I believe it's Cleveland or Cincy, that's up by the Erie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where there's actually a Hungarian museum.
Wow.
It's actually an area where a lot of the Hungarians migrated to before they dispersed throughout the United States.
How cool.
So my mom was there for a little while, and then they came up to Milwaukee, moved around a little bit. My mom graduated from the Grafton High School, and while they were there, Nudge Papa actually was a butcher for one of the local butcher shops over in Cedarburg. And one of his recipes are still there today that we are able to go ahead and pick up. I don't know if it's like a kielbasa or what it is offhand, but it's a meat something or other. Wow. But yeah, it's unfortunately I never met the man. Mm-hmm. I would have loved to, but he died of an industrial accident when my mom was 18.
Wow.
He got locked in a freezer, and that's why we have freezers the way they are with the emergency push on the inside, so you'll never be able to get locked in.
Oh my goodness.
He's one of those statistics.
Wow.
But now you have a mother with a teenager, but they had 2 more kids. Mm-hmm. And she still is not speaking English.
Really?
Nudge Mama didn't speak English until much, much later in life.
Wow.
And even then it was very broken. Mm-hmm. She was still hanging on to the old country.
Yeah.
So, and for them, they were political refugees. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is. Mm-hmm. Because it was the revolution that was happening over in Hungary is the reason why they had to flee. Because with that, jumping back, there was something going on with the revolutionists, the freedom fighter revolutionists. And according to my mother, both Nudge Mama and Nudge Papa were freedom fighter supporters. They weren't actually freedom fighters. They were just supporters. They believed in the cause. But like we do today, what's going on. A lot of us believe in the cause. And Nudge Papa, went and helped the freedom fighters break in the local armory. That's why they had to run. So the Russians, the Red Russians, were coming after him to send him off to the Gulag. Luckily for Nudge Mama, she actually befriended one of the Russians, and he showed her the way out.
Wow.
Yes.
Gosh, it's like the history books. And this is why, like, this is so cool, because, like, that all stemmed, finding that out was asking you why you chose to live the way that you did during getting college or getting schooling. And do you think it was that grit of your family that just gets passed down to you, and that's why you're like, you know what, I want to experience this? Was that going through your head, or what was it?
A combination, actually. A lot of it. My mom brought all of us kids up, cooking from scratch, feeding us the old dishes, the old ways of eating and doing things. It was never, no, we're not going to go ahead and have fast food. We're going to make this stuff from scratch. I know how to make noodles from scratch.
Yeah.
Bake pies and all kinds of dishes. It's some of it is the grit from them. The middle of winter, it's January, where her uncle, my great uncle, fled from a Nazi concentration camp in the middle of winter with a trench coat on.
Oh my gosh.
But he's doing backflips in the backyard for her. That's the weirdest thing. And it was just like, there's a determination.
Yeah.
A will to live. That's the whole thing. If there's a will, there's a way. But I was, like I said, enamored with just those stories from back then. And the fact that people were coming to him to train their horses.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So he was good at what he did. Now, on my dad's side, different story, but still in agriculture. His father actually is one of 6 boys. And they had 2 sisters. One died in infancy by the age of 3. The other one literally just died here last year. She was 89 or 90.
Wow.
I've got the obituary. Yeah. And just listening to my grandfather's, this would be Grandpa Nofsinger, his stories of how he grew up, the life on the farm. And just, again, I was enamored.
Yeah.
But this time I actually talked to somebody. And he would go ahead and show me how to do things. Work with my hands. Here, this is how you fix this. No, we're not going to, throw it out and buy something else. That's not what you do. He also lived through the Depression. He was born in 1924. Back in the Driftless area, if you go there in certain parts, it still is like the Depression. It's kind of like going to the Appalachians.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's there's a reason why a lot of people don't throw out things, because they remember, especially the Great Depression. And for that, though, is just, I could actually still go to his parents' house. I remember as a kid growing up, going with my grandfather and grandmother to visit. Now, for me, great-grandma and grandpa, Nofsinger, that would be Frank and Berkey. And they died on the farm, seriously.
Wow.
And this would have been the early 80s. But going there, I was able to go out and help my great-grandmother herd chickens back into the barn. I would actually play with great-grandpa that I don't even remember much of, but he loved it when I came up to the farm. There was so many other, grandkids and great-grandkids, but apparently I was one of, many favorites. Not sure why. But he's the one that still was blacksmithing.
Wow.
and the reason why my dad got into becoming a tool and die. But for my grandfather, he's also, there, like I said, there's so much from that. It's, I could go off in so many different directions and tangents. And right there, this is also why I do what I do, because I hear the stories from my grandfather, Grandpa Nofsinger, of how he grew up on that farm, and blacksmithing and training horses, and him and a couple of the brothers getting in trouble because, well, they trained some of the horses to jump. No, they were plow horses. Well, they were jumping the fence and getting out when they weren't supposed to.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so they had to stop. It's actually one of the brothers there, too, that were good at training horses. My grandfather was good at training dogs. I mean, really good at training dogs. He trained hunting dogs, herding dogs. Yes. I'm not really, really good at it, but I'm good at training dogs, too. I trained a couple of horses and sheep here, too. It's... You can start seeing and hearing my passion of where it all is agriculture right there. And it's not necessarily row cropping or just livestock. It's all of it. It's the life. It's a hard life, but it's a good life.
Yeah.
It really is. And there, too, Grandpa Frank had his own blacksmith shop.
That's so cool.
Of some of the horseshoes that he had were just massive. But they're draft horses.
Yeah.
And I actually picked a couple of them up. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I'd almost drop it to the ground. Let's see, what else was there? It's just, yeah.
I mean, I love to hear that. And those stories, like you said, might not have lived on if you wouldn't have told me about them. Keep telling them. Keep telling about their history.
And the thing is this is just in the 80s. It's not that long ago. And at least for me, it's not that long ago. No. Now, for somebody as yourself or younger, they're going, oh, that's a long time ago. And I say that because the youngest out of us four was just born in 1990.
Wow.
So he doesn't know any of this. All he knows is grandpa and grandma, but they were living in town. And so he could just hear the stories, and that's it. Wow. He wouldn't know the life of being out on the great-grandma and grandpa's farm like me and my cousins would. The older cousins, I should say. Yeah.
Well, tell me about when you're there in Wisconsin and you're in school and you're living that way. What was something that you were learning about? How you were living? Tell me about that time in your life. I need to know.
Okay, jump forward. Luckily for me, because of my grandfather, my grandfather also did participate. Actually, back then it was called the CCC. It was. I'm gonna mess up the whole thing, but it's the Conservation Corps. He participated because of the Great Depression. He had to bring money home for the family, and Wisconsin's big on that. Conservationists, they're environmentalists. It's all preserving the wildlife up there. That got passed on to my father, and my dad actually participated in it as well. And I think it was one of his last generation was part of known as the CCC. When I was in high school, I had a friend who came up to me when I was trying to dissect a pig for biology class and says, "Here, fill this out." "Never mind, I'll fill it out." I had an apple in one hand and my hand on this pig. That's formaldehyde. It's what's more worse than that, where I pick up horse apples and see what they're, actually digesting, and you deal with, okay, they got parasites. It's
cool. That's so
I'm extremely comfortable with all of that. Other people are going, that's disgusting. My veterinarian will be able to tell you this.
Yeah.
Because I do it to him all the time. He's just like, ah. But he's also from Texas and grew up at a cattle ranch. So.
Yeah.
But for me, it's, with all of that right there, with that background, my dad brought me up that way of taking me out in the middle of winter. It was either December or January, and the snow is literally knee-high. It's not any shorter than that. And I'm trudging up in the driftless area again, so the west side of the state of Wisconsin, and Dad's got, I think, a 22, and we're out hunting squirrels. And he goes, "Okay, kid," because I'm like all of a sudden cold. He's like, "Come here, let me show you how to stay warm if you have nothing. You're in the middle of nowhere." This is how you're going to survive. He showed me how to literally take a bullet apart and take the powder out and start a tiny fire with dry kindling on a rock. I mean, this rock was huge. And he goes, now this is how you start a little fire. Now how do your hands feel? They're like, they're much better. Like, he was like, okay, let me get some more, just small kindling. He was grabbing like leaves and little twigs. He goes, okay, here you go. Wow. Now, if they're wet, you're going to have to find something else that's going to be able to combust. And that would be your grapevines, because they have oils in them. I was learning this stuff. I was, 7 and 8 years old, learning how to survive. It's like, oh, okay. I use that stuff today. So, coming back to your question, with all of that growing up and going to now is called the Youth Conservation Corps with my best friend in high school, this is my life. This is what I decided I wanted to do when I was a teenager in high school. I want to go off and, breed rare and domesticated animals. So pre-1930s, because of my grandfather and those stories. And, minor as a veterinarian, minor in herdsman, just because you have more well-roundedness that way. And so going to college there locally, I was dating a gentleman at the time, got into a scuffle. And my parents were starting to just really seem to put a stranglehold on me. But I'm close to 19. I'm 18. I shouldn't have to follow the rules. It's the rebellion. It is, but you're 18 legally, So I didn't want to go ahead and pay them rent, because it's like, you want me to go to college. How am I gonna? Nothing made sense. So I did what I thought was best for myself. Mom and Dad has this second property, 40 acres. It's a small little, house, no big deal, farmhouse. I can make it. I've got enough money to go ahead and pay for college for the next couple of years. I have enough money, at least I thought I did, for gas to get back and forth, and food. That's it. The second house has no electricity. It has an outhouse. I grew up with an outhouse. The place in Barton had an outhouse besides a big barn and a big garden. I'm like, I know how to do this. I grew up learning how. I think I got this. And I'm like, okay, now to be able to study, I'm like, kerosene lanterns. Not like the Coleman lantern that everybody knows. I'm talking about the glass ones with the sconces. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I got this. All right. I didn't necessarily think it all through because I forgot to factor in wood.
Oh, yeah.
I had no wood ready for winter.
Oh, my gosh.
This is January. It was an ice storm.
Oh, my gosh.
But many of us in elementary school played the Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. How did they do it back then?
Shoot. Horse manure.
Yeah, that was one. I didn't have horses, though. I didn't have much of anything. I had the 40 acres that my parents had with woods.
So you just went out and
I went and started cutting wood.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I had relatives that were all around me. My aunt, who was literally several counties over, and they heat with wood, felt sorry for me. So they came over with a truckload of wood.
Aww.
So that helped a lot, actually. But that first, literally from January to spring, was a big education for myself. I froze. I had many blankets underneath me and many blankets on top of me. I went to bed with my clothes on, socks and everything, until I learned don't go to bed with all your clothes on. Yeah, loose socks, not tight socks. Yeah. Make sure you wear a hat. Then I was like, oh, that's why Grandpa always had a hat on his headboard for his bed.
Whoa.
Is to keep the heat in, because a lot of the heat escapes through your head. I do it here.
How cool. I wouldn't have even connected some of that until you, like you said, until you're in it by yourself.
Exactly.
And you're learning it. I have a friend, her name's Buckeye, and she's in her 80s, and she's mid 80s, and she was talking about how one day she decided she was going to stay under her, that she lived down in Indy, grew up on this first generation, it was like a kids camp. and they taught them skills, like out in the woods, and they did this. So one day when she got older, and she's done so many cool adventures, but she was talking to me about this the other day, and she was saying, I stayed underneath a wagon when I was like 60, and I thought in the middle of winter, and I said, I've read all these stories, and I've done a lot of tough things. So she goes, I'm gonna do it with my clothes and with she said she had a buffalo hide, and she said I just dug out a trench of the snow, put that buffalo hide on, and wrapped myself, and I stayed underneath that wagon all night, and my friends and my family said, you're nuts. And she goes, I'm gonna do it. She goes, I was kind of determined about it. That's what made me think about that. But that's so cool.
That's about what I am too. It's just like, you know what, if our forefathers did it and survived, yeah, there were those that perished, but there was many that survived. I can do this too.
I think we limit ourselves so much because we have so much convenience. But when we're really pushed to the test, that shows our like human side of how powerful we actually are, and like,
we can overcome a lot.
Yeah.
The only thing that is blocking us from that is our mind. We've done it before as a human species. We can do it again. We just are, yes, privy to a lot of modern conveniences today, and forget that, hey, we came from someplace. Yeah. And that was the whole thing, is that growing up, not knowing Nudge Papa, and not really knowing much about Nudge Mom, because there was a lot of it in Hungarian, I didn't know where I came from on that side of the family until I got much older. Wow. And the only reason is that for anthropology class, when I was going to school in Richland Center, it was to go ahead and interview somebody that meant something to you. So I interviewed my mother, and I chose the topic of, where do I come from? Who am I? What is the background? So that's where I got a lot of information, was from her at that point. And I was 20 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where I was able to, like, hey, I had a great uncle that went and did backflips for my mom at the age of 3, but yet complained that he couldn't do anything around the house because, he hurt his back in the war. It's just like, okay. And that's where I found about, the yards and everything else, because it wasn't that big of a yard at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's how we had an assignment in elementary school where we had to interview somebody. Yeah. And I'm so glad I did that, and so glad they made us do that with we had a camera and everything. And it's so funny because I think about that. That was like more than half of my life ago, and now I'm doing this exactly what I did with my papaw. Now I have that about my papaw. And it's funny because I asked my grandparent, or my mama, about him, and she goes, when he did that interview, he would never have talked about the Navy, but because you asked him, he told me about some of the stuff, not in detail, but because it was such a young crowd that would be listening. But he would never talk about things like that until they were asked. Now, tell me about how you transition from Wisconsin to coming here to Indiana and starting your own farm here. That's a lot of time, I guess. Just wing whatever you want to say.
Well, the gentleman that I met up in Wisconsin, and when I was on the west side of the state in the Driftless area there, it was Hillsborough area, I met him actually through reenacting. And some people think, rendezvous or buckskinners. Well, there's a lot to reenact, and there's many different time periods. Yeah. For me at the time, though, it actually was buckskinning.
That's so cool.
I thought he was much younger than what he was. Nope, he happened to be 18 years older. But you know what? Love
is love.
Yes, it shined right through. Married him. Him and I lived in that house for a short time. And once we got married, things changed. And I was not allowed to go out and visit anybody anymore at that point. I wasn't allowed to go to my family, my aunt that brought me wood in the winter a couple towns over. I wasn't able to go over and see her unless he was with me. He didn't trust me anymore. I was not allowed to stay after work because I worked for the local grocery store in town. I'd be home by half an hour, late. It took me 20 minutes to get home. I'd be a half an hour past that. And it was immediately of who was I with? What was I doing? It was just odd. Sometimes I was grocery shopping. Sometimes I ran into family. I related to half the place over there.
Yeah.
Literally, it's Marshalls, Eastman, Gilliam's, Staniks, Nofsingers. I'm gonna run into family. One time it was just a coworker I was talking with. He didn't care. It was never became violent. It just became very emotionally abusive, controlling in that manner. Even to see my own folks, to go back over to West Bend to see them. No. So I decided one day, because it always builds up. It came out in the middle of nowhere. No, this was building. It's why does the cage bird sings? Why does the cage bird sing?
Yeah. Because that's all it can do.
Exactly.
It speaks of freedom on the distant hill.
Because it used to be free.
Yeah.
He fell in love with me because I was this outgoing person, optimistic, just free loving spirit. And then all of a sudden, why did you change? And for me, I was not that quiet person. I was very outgoing. I speak my mind. So I made the decision. I made some prep. And I moved, literally put whatever I could into the vehicle and moved down to the Chicago area, the west suburbs, where, yes, I did stay with a family, but I found myself again and went through just basically another transition. I became a phoenix. The phoenix rose out of a fire.
Oh,
yes.
That's a good one.
I didn't become who I was before, but I became a different person, a different stage in my life. Because I learned a lot. I learned about different types of abuse, domestic abuse. And like I said, it's not always about hitting. It's very different. And that's where, living in the Chicagoland area, I grew again. I went back to college. Instead of getting a bachelor's in agriculture, I got a bachelor's in business. It was human resources. I also landed a job as an assistant manager for Walgreens and did very well. I met a family where I'm still good friends with today. Her husband's originally from Minnesota, Blue Earth, Minnesota. And she grew up right there in Elmhurst. And they took me in because I had a few things that happened that I will not go into, though, that I needed a safe place. And that's where she uplifted me and helped me blossom even more. She goes, that country girl is still underneath you. I know it's skin deep, just like a biker. But I'm going to make you better. And yes, she did make me better. Because the person I'm with now today, when we met up, there is a big story behind this, but the short version is that we came down to Indiana to a friend's farm, and then we hightailed it back up to Chicago to go out on our date that night. And I says, hold on, give me an hour. It's like, okay. I'm like, you be ready. Give me 1 hour, because I'm not your typical woman. Remember, I grew up with a grandfather that was in the military and with his 5 brothers that were also all in the military. My father that was actually technically ROTC, because he couldn't get into the Navy because of his eyes. So growing up, we're very regimental. But I told my spouse today give me 1 hour. 3 S's. I literally went from stinking like horse manure, just ratty-tatty, and I came out wearing a very elegant outfit, slight makeup, jewelry, my hair all done up. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And he's going, I thought you were joking. No, I'm ready. Let's go. Reservations in a half hour. Let's go. It's like, shoot. Good, I like it, but dang it, I'm not ready. With all of that, the gentleman down here in Indiana, actually, because I was finishing up college up there, living with my friends, because they needed help. So we all did kind of a communal thing in a house. And after I graduated, it was asked to me, do you want to be a director of an equestrian department? I'm like, excuse me? Yeah, I'm starting up a business, an organization, and I need somebody to lead up the equestrian area. And you've ridden, I've seen you ride, because I've been riding actually technically since I was 7.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yes, I can thank my horse master back then, specifically Marv Ortman. I forget what the stables was called, but it was over in Pewaukee, Wisconsin, where his stable was. But he did American Saddle Breeds. And Marv Ortman was a tall guy.
Wow.
He was another person that also helped in this. But the gentleman's like, yeah, so I technically, after I was going to graduate from college the second time, I was going to head west. Wow. Because I always wanted to move to Montana, because that's where the Marshall family went. And I love the West. I love the West. Yes, it's the cowboys and Indians and all that, but what it comes down to is that it's open range. There's nobody.
Yeah.
That's where I could be myself. I could be free.
Yeah.
Why the cage bird sings.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be free. So I was like, you know what? What the heck? What am I going to lose? So I came to Indiana. Luckily for me, the gentleman, his name is actually J.H. Northrup. And he goes, well, you know what? I already have a place for you. I'm like, huh? It's actually a house I used to stay at. I'm like, okay. Come to find out, it's one of his father's rentals.
Whoa.
Down here in Huntington.
Wow.
So, yeah, and found out a lot more about that family, too, which was, I'm so excited and happy about. But, with that family, though, we've all become really good friends. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put myself too far out there on that one. But, yeah, so I came here because of that. Well, because J.H., we'll call him H. Mm-hmm. And it's long story on his part. But his dad's also, his first letter is also a J, and they're both Joes. That's why it's J.H. But it's, I was going to go somewhere with that one. The project specifically at the time was called New Solderly Project. Mm-hmm. And then we went international. Mm-hmm. H is really good at speaking. Mm-hmm. He's very good at networking. I swear he should have gone into politics or followed his father's footsteps and became a lawyer. But he didn't. But that's okay. Just like his upbringing, I've got my upbringing. Mm-hmm. And I was able to go ahead and basically stone step the project in the correct direction. Mm-hmm. Because once we became international, that elevated me also, of like a lot more eyes were on top of me as a director, as a performer, having to have these horses trained to be out on the battlefield specifically. Because I wasn't just a director. I was also the only person in the department. Wow. I had to train the horses. I had to train myself. I had to also learn how to read the old English FS font. Whoa. And I had to translate into modern day English. I forget which one it was. Was it Newcastle? I think. I've read a lot of documents, so I think it was Newcastle. But in working with H on that, I got to a spot, I'm not sure what this is all about. So he'd read it like, okay. So we'd kind of fill it in. Or he'd call over to England to the tower and talk to his people over there that he's networked with over the years. Mm-hmm. So we'd get this figured out. But
now, what was like those what were you happening to translate? What was the like message behind that?
It was being able to bring into modern day English how you and I read today versus this FS font, because I would have to go over the same word, same sentence like 20 different times trying to figure out if it was like seen or fiend or what it was. I don't know.
So was it
Because a lot of people can't read that, and once you learn it, it's not that hard actually.
was it documents like legal documents or was it horse training? What
It was horse training
all
documents.
about?
Oh, sorry, yes.
All about that.
It was the Duke of Newcastle is somebody that wrote the manual for back in the 1700s of how to train horses for battle. Whoa. In a short sense of it. Yeah, there's a lot of it.
So, no, I'm like I'm just fascinated. Your life is so cool.
I did a lot when I got here, and that was back in '07. But the thing is that it kind of came up on an abrupt stop in '09. And what it was is that we were at a convention that as arena, well, H actually kind of the one that put it together. It has to do with the 7 Years' War time period, and we were coming back from southern Indiana. This was February because it was always right around my birthday, and on the Monday I wasn't sure if I had enough funds. I would check my funds at the local ATM, and it showed 0. I freaked out, so I drove, because at the time Harris Bank was still in Marion. So I drove middle winter all the way down to Marion with my 2 dogs in the truck, and got it all figured out. So I'm like, oh, okay. And then I kept thinking that I worked earlier than what I did, so I'm racing back, and then it dawns on me oh, I don't work until later in the afternoon. I'm like, okay. At the time, my now spouse and I were looking for houses in the country because we wanted a farm. And I took a country road. Don't remember where it was exactly. And I got distracted by the dogs because they immediately got into a fight. I don't know why. One of them did something, and they're just vicious, blood curdling. Yeah, so it's the famous thing where your parent takes the eyes off the road to go ahead and reprimand the kids in the back, and boom. I was T-boned at a 4-way intersection. And what I do remember is that waking up because of a dog whining, and next thing is in the hospital. Wow. After all that, I can go off of police reports. That's about it. I don't remember a month of my life. At all. Mind you, this was 2 days after my 31st birthday. Wow. And after the big convention. Yeah. And we were actually going places with the horses. And starting to really get that part of the department up and rolling. The artillery department was doing fine. The infantry was doing fine. It was that. For whatever reason, we've always had an issue with the horse end of it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, now I've got a head trauma. And I've got little scars all over my body. And now a busted up knee on the left side where the right knee's already had surgery. Yeah.
So that was like a wake-up call for you to be like, okay, how am I going to live my life now?
Pretty much. It took a long time for me to come and figure myself out again. That's the whole thing. I had to relearn a lot of stuff, everything. Luckily for me, having that willpower growing up, and then also when I moved out in the middle of winter, trying not to freeze to death, because that actually was my fear of I'm going to be a frozen person in this house where my parents own it. It was so it was a will to live. So that same will, that optimism, that stubbornness, that just all of it, plus my ancestors. Grandpa Nofsinger passed away in early 2000s. His father passed away in the early 80s. And because I have that strong tie and bond there, When I was in the hospital, I thought it was real.
Wow.
They actually, it was on a different playing field, literally. And those that are religious would understand this or believe in other levels. I even got to meet my nudge papa. Ready for this?
Yeah.
I could speak fluent Hungarian.
Oh my God.
I can't do it now. But that's why I don't remember a month of my life, because I literally died. I was in that in-between world. And the people I met, was Nudge Papa, was, Grandpa Nofsinger, and also a gentleman who just passed away a couple years ago, who we always call him the Renaissance Man, Joe Elfkin. Awesome man. Brilliant man. He was also lied about his age in order to get into the military, to get into Vietnam. He was a river rat, actually. He was alive, by the way. But for me, dreaming, not dreaming, don't know, he was there. But all three of them spoke to me. And the biggest thing, outside of being able to actually meet Grandpa Frank, Nudge Papa, was to talk to him. I and they all had the same message. It's not time for you. Time for you to go back. You need to go back. Your life is not done. You have unfinished business. I was actually just kind of like, Joe, what the hell are you doing here, though? But he's a person that would walk between the different worlds anyway, because he was a shaman on so many levels. And that I can only certain people, like I said, can understand that. Others that I would say that to, they would never believe me. They're like, whatever, no, you're full of it. It's the skepticism. But knowing my life wasn't done here yet, it was like, but I miss you guys. And Nudge Papa I've never met. And then it's like, I miss you anyway. Like, no, your time is not now. You need to go back.
Because you had a purpose to fulfill, right? Like,
This is the purpose, is where we're sitting.
Yeah.
It is to fill what I always wanted to do, was to farm. And it's not the 300 to 800 acres that I always wanted to, on a farm in the driftless area that I picked out, actually. That's still empty today, unfortunately, after 40 plus years, but it's still standing. But I'm farming. I'm still working with horses. I'm working with livestock. I am breeding livestock that's in the conservatory for heritage animals.
Wow.
They're Shetland sheep, but they're specific Shetland sheep. I have heritage poultry here, so I'm doing it.
Do you think that purpose is not only to fulfill something within your life that you've always wanted to do, but do you think it's to continue history on? Do you and to teach, or where have you found yourself with this farm, with everything that you're doing here? What is it that you found is this farm's purpose? You're good.
Okay. The farm's purpose originally, once I got myself back on track from the car accident, because I do still have memory issues. Each TBI is different. No two are the same, literally. But I still never lost the dream. Is that we call it short for a new Solderly project is NSP or NSPI, was supposed to happen right here in Huntington, literally like 200 acres from this place. And when we were looking, I wanted to be close because I'm the director of the equestrian department. I don't want to drive a distance. I want to be able to be within a reasonable distance in case something would happen. Especially with horses, it happened to be a barn fire, whatever the case may be. And so this place happened to come up because we're already looking for about 2 years with a real estate agent who was just phenomenal. She stuck with us, and I told her, if you stick with us, you know, you'll prosper, and she did. And we saw a lot of places, but because of our location, which we both fell in love with, being from Wisconsin for the two of us, it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, but you're not. Town, you can see through the tree line. Town's right there, you know. And you got the train that goes by. It's 100 feet from my doorstep. All the time. But this, because of the setup, it actually is an original homestead from, again, the 1800s. I'm stuck with that.
No, I love it, because here's what I would, before you continue, when you came here and you're like, okay, this is a property. Was it like that moment with your grandfather saying it's not time? Was it like that moment, like, this is the place where I'm supposed to be?
No.
No?
No. It's still that farm up in Wisconsin.
Still that farm. Okay.
I have a place already picked.
I get you.
I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Probably not.
So what made you decide this one?
This one, it was, well, because my spouse finally had enough of it. He's like, fine. He just was done looking. He was like, make her happy. Boom. Yeah, he's the pickier one. And it was his VA loan. So there's that. But for me, I fell in love with almost every place we looked at. I'm born in the wrong era. I should have been born like the Victorian era or the Edwardian era, you know. It's definitely not later 1930s, so it's pre-1930s for me. But for this one, I can see so much potential. And I'm the visionary person. I've got ideas. It's not even funny. But for me, we're close. Okay. I can go ahead and do on a smaller scale because of my mother from Europe. Farming in Europe is all on a smaller scale. Most farms are not, several hundred acres. Yeah. A lot of the villages, they have their plots. A lot of them grow their own food in their backyard, even in the middle of town. And they live on it, and then they trade and barter with everybody else around them. For me, I saw that here. I'm like, okay, even with the car accident, I went to the president, which is JH, and we talked, and I helped him find somebody to replace me as a director because I knew I would not be capable at that moment in time to fulfill what the project needed. So we transitioned that way, and I became an understudy. With that, it's like, okay, we're going to do the horse program here. And then, things happen again. Always, that's life. I step back again. But I'm still not losing that vision of what I wanted to do back when I was 12. Just breed rare and domesticated animals and do agriculture. But still be part of the new NSP project because I believe in the project. Now, how do you go ahead and mesh the two together? I'm not a director anymore, but I'm still part of it. I still go out with horses. I go out in the field. That horse that I used to have when I was out in the field died of age. He was 30-something.
Whoa, that's old for a horse.
I don't remember if he was like 32. T, how old was T when he died? T, the horse.
Like 27-ish.
I kept thinking he was like 28. Okay. But, yeah, so he died. I got to train a new horse. So we got a new horse. He's in his 30s as well. That one actually came here. Died on our place. Wow. Yeah, that was fun. It was the middle of winter, too.
Oh, gosh.
Actually, it was March. Sorry, I take that back. It was March because it was literally my uncle, my dad's brother, passed away on his wife's birthday, which was, I think, I'm going to mess this up, but I believe it was like March 11th. His birthday's March 12th.
Oh, wow.
So he dies on the 11th. The horse that's in his 30s that I get to go ahead and train up for the project dies the next day on my uncle's birthday.
Oh, man.
I have to start over again. But that's life. That's the point of this farm. is that there's this cycle of life that we're so disconnected from. That I grew up, even when my parents got into beekeeping, I was in 6th grade because my dad wanted to, because of the family, the Nofsinger family and the Marshall family, because we get dated all the way back to Scotland in Edinburgh.
So cool.
That, again, history, again, agriculture. So we started beekeeping, and that's for years, it's the same thing. But for my mom, farmers markets, she was having kids going, well, this stuff comes from the grocery store. Why are you here selling it at the farmer's market? This is the late 80s and 90s where you were starting to see this disconnect. And it was just like, it didn't make sense to any of us. We're like, huh? And here on the farm, you can see that. I'm bringing all of it together. The reason why it wasn't my time yet is to go ahead and bring this to people. Because I have people that are in their 60s and 70s. I didn't realize this farm was back here. It reminds me of when I was growing up as a kid. We have reenacting friends that came out to help us for a few things, and we let them stay in the house. And while the boys went to town, the one lady, Kathy, her and I went out to the garden, and she's like, this so reminds me of being with my mama. Oh. And she was referring to her grandmother. I think she was calling her Mima, too. Because she was from the St. Louis area where she's living in, but she's originally from Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And she's like, yes, it's just like my grandma's place. It really, really is. This is just so neat. We're out in the garden barefoot, and we're cruising through, like, okay, tomatoes, and what else we're going to go ahead and pick up, for, lunch today, and just make for a meal. And she's like, this is just, this woman is, like 70 for Kathy. Yeah. And it was just, that's what I get joy out of, is that the people that are my age or older remember this stuff. Of when we went to our grandparents' or great-grandparents' farms, or they grew up on the farm, but parents are out of it, or they didn't want to take over the farm, but they don't mind visiting or coming out to help type thing. So for me, that's what this farm is. And when we saw the farm and I could see it going, I could do this with the horses, I could do this with sheep, I could do this with goats, and I'm just going da-da-da-da-da-da. And he's going, okay. Great, I'm going to have to work all the time. It's like, no, you're fine. But the same part of the other side of this barn is that there's a shop already set up. So, he could go ahead and do his woodworking for my partner, because he's Jewish. The whole joke is, it's like, hey, it's the Jewish wood carpenter. And yes, he does joke about himself all the time as well. But for me, I was like, I could do a machine shop, but I really don't want to, but I could see a lathe in here. Yeah, I should have gotten into the trades like my dad.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm a Jane of all trades.
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about history and our forefathers. And yes, I was born in the wrong era. And that's what this farm is that to not let any of it die.
Yeah.
To really just show people that you can do it. We're on less than 10 acres, but it seems like we're on more.
Well, it is what you make it, right?
It is.
It really is. I grow a garden, and it's not that big, but I enjoy learning and how to do different things. And I've always loved history and always loved homesteading. And that's where I felt most at home was when my best friend, Bones, she's in her mid-70s now. And we met at a reenactment. And she's like, I've never seen a young kid sit here and, I was in high school at that time, but she's like, I've never seen someone so young be interested in flax, and I was just sitting there, and she came back and talked to me and was just talking, and I was like, yeah, I love history so much, and I've always wanted to work on a farm and learn these skills, but, it's hard when you don't have maybe those close connections in family or times have changed,
yes.
And, it's harder to get and all that stuff. And so you want to find a mentor that is trusting and wants to teach you and not talk down or feel like, you come all nervous, afraid to
or
make
you're
it
dumb or whatever.
Yeah.
And I have done that here too, is that some people have just wanted to learn. So they've come out and, spent a couple hours and they're like, okay, done.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but they have the experience now.
Yeah.
They satisfied that curiosity.
Yeah.
And I don't mind teaching.
Yeah.
My vision for this place is to actually have classes here and to be able to, which I found out in this area, nothing against anybody whatsoever, but there's people that do not like others that are not like them. And I'm putting it nicely. And it even comes with myself. You're a woman. Why you're farming? Oh no, this is bad. But because I am first generation and learning like about my mother, but also growing up, my parents took all of us kids to Milwaukee to all the different ethnic festivals. Yes, that was our thing. So
cool.
And we learned about so many different cultures. That's not even funny, especially the one that's I believe in the middle of winter, where it's all the cultures come together at one of the centers in Milwaukee, and just yes. So for me, I'm and then when I was living in Chicago, I'm exposed to all these people. As a manager, I have to be able to communicate with those from like the Middle East.
Yeah.
That can't speak English. Or, well, he's a man. You don't speak to him. You speak to the woman, or vice versa. And those that I even ran into people that were from a pharmacy technician that was actually Egyptian.
Whoa.
It was so cool.
That
Him and
is
I had
so
a great
cool.
conversation. It was really neat. And along with my pharmacist that I had at one store, she's like, "Oh, I won't see you in a couple weeks." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, I'm going back to see family in Saudi Arabia."
Wow.
"What do you want?" I'm like, you put me on the spot." But she was my age. That was the whole thing. That was really cool. So her and I would talk. But it was here.
Yeah.
No.
It's different.
Sacrilegious type stuff. I don't want to change all the other farmers around me. But I want to be able to go ahead and reach out and have that connection to those different groups that are not being serviced because of my background. Why my time is not finished here on this earth.
I love that. Man, I could talk to you all day, and we had like a 45-minute phone call before this, and we were talking and just literally, we didn't get into all of this, but we were just talking about how, one of the things that I really want to do, and I've said it so many times on the podcast, is to bring people your stories, bring like your story and all kinds of different background stories to life, because we don't realize how many people, there are so many good, amazing people in this world. We always only see the bad. And I want to bring a light to the person down the road that, I've never, it's like nobody's close to their neighbors anymore. It feels like. Now, in some areas, it's a lot more different and like stuff like that. But it's this idea of introducing like, yeah, there's really good people right here in our counties. And, actually getting out in our communities and visiting people's farmer stands or visiting people's craft shows or whatever it might be, that we all can learn something from each other. We can all connect with each other, no matter what your background is. People are people, and I believe that with all my heart. And, that's how it should be, is to have a close community. And I love that you see that with your farm of making a difference right here in your own community. It's really cool.
Yes. And for me, going forward at this point, is that my spouse is also a disabled veteran. You wouldn't know it if you saw him, but it's bringing other veterans here that are not able to do anything. Maybe they have PTSD. We do work with as reenactors, because I'm still heavy in reenacting, which the French Indian War and the 7 Years' War time period, and we have many reenactors that are veterans. Disabled veterans that have PTSD, just in between, people that, they got PTSD, they can't be out there with all the different weapons, which is just our muskets, our pistols, and our cannons. And we're like, no, if you do it right, they're fine. They have their own way of coping, but yes, sometimes they snap.
Real quick.
Yeah, but there are others, like I said, there are those out there that recognize that and see that. And for here, let's have a safe place for them where they can go ahead and work with the livestock. And that's the biggest thing, is that having that connection between an animal, because they are able to read our bodies so much more than you and I are.
Yeah.
Because they don't speak.
Right.
They have a different language. And also for me is being able to, which I'm working still towards, is processing fiber from that wool into like yarn or into a garment or whatever, or if you just want the roving to do whatever you want, like into a quilt. And for them, as you know, for a veteran to be able to transfer the whatever they're having issues with to something else, to put their mind in a different direction
And work with their hands.
yes, and connect in a different way.
Yeah.
Give them purpose again, is basically what I'm trying to say. But then at the same time is with the townspeople right here. It doesn't matter if it's small town Andrews, a Huntington, or even from like Fort Wayne, is those kids, they're disconnected. And give them a place to come and learn. Hey, we're not very big, but I can still feed myself for a year here with no problem, because I have a garden, which I call my produce fields. I have livestock. I have the sheep, but I also have poultry, and not just chickens. I have ducks and geese. And at one point I had rabbits, which we're looking at possibly doing again. But I also had milking goats, which eventually I'll get back to them as well. I had to take a few things out of the equation.
Yeah.
It's a farm that's we need help ourselves, actually, and I'm looking for funding to go ahead and get things back under control. But with that is I see the vision to be able to do that stuff here, is to have a farm store or come to the cottage, which is a one-room cabin, to be able to go ahead and weave or spin, or, hey, I need to come in and get some honey or local produce, or you have some eggs, and eventually be able to have meat sheep where you can go ahead and buy that meat from the freezer.
That's that's so cool.
And it's all local, it's organic, because I don't use pesticides or herbicides because of the way I was raised from the old country.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's such a thing now. It's not a trend. What people need to understand is like going organic or doing something like this. This is it. Social media has made it sound like a trend.
Yeah.
Prices have made it sound like a trend. All the stuff like that. But it's actually, there's so much science and purity behind it, and the reasons behind it is because that is just how Mother Earth is. Like, that's just how the Earth functions. Is it can take care of itself, surprisingly enough.
Yes.
But and the food that we eat, it really matters what we eat and what we put in our bodies, and to be intentional. That doesn't mean you can't go down to the McDonald's and have, but
on occasion, we still do fast food and stuff. But that's a good point, though, with that, the organicness. The farm is not certified organic, but the way
it costs a lot to do that.
It does, and the thing is the field next to us, that farmer would be so mad.
Yeah,
so mad. But for me, because of how I was raised, organic, don't use all this other stuff, do companion planting and whatnots with that. And the fact that, surprisingly enough, great-grandpa Nofsinger, Frank, also, he was Jewish. He's not really a Nofsinger. He's a Getz. It's a Jewish family. By blood, I'm Jewish. There's the Jewish community can go ahead and argue with me on this one. But for me, by blood, I had to get tested for Tay-Sachs. Because also my partner is Jewish through his mother. New Jersey Jewish family, restaurant, yes.
It's so cool.
So for me, this farm, I've never had pigs here since we moved here. So I am a kosher farm. And that's also another area that I'd like to target, because that is so underserved for a community.
Can you explain one little thing here before we wrap it up? Because like I said, we could talk so much. But when you say kosher, what can you explain what you mean exactly by that?
Well, we're going to go ahead and pause that for one moment. You're on.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Hi, this is Peter.
Peter, come on up and sit down on the hay.
Okay. Kosher. From my understanding, because my father didn't really practice it really at all, actually. Like, because growing up, we had pork. I love my bacon. We would have pork chops, all that good stuff. Cracklins. Oh, I love cracklins. But, hey, you're still Jewish. Okay. Doesn't mean much when you're growing up as a kid. But then when you go ahead and find somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with, who comes from a Jewish family, who did get raised within it, is constantly educating you. All I know is being kosher, from my understanding, is that you don't eat pig because pig is dirty for one reason or another. Like I said, he can explain more about this than I. And that there's different types of kosherness in it, I guess. I don't know. This is where I get a little confused, because there's Hasidics, and then there's, lack of a better word, just Jewish people, like me. Like the Hasidics, they have two kitchens. They separate a lot of their food. They don't let stuff touch, all that. There's the other parts of it, but specifically we're talking about food. And with the other one, it's... We still have conversations about this. I'm just going to jump right into it. Is that, yeah. Like I said, I get kind of confused. And kosher for me is I just don't have pig on the farm. Okay? We'll go from that. We'll let Peter here go ahead and tell you about kosher for here on the farm. What it means.
What does it mean? Yeah, what does it mean?
Kosher is just basically how the food is properly prepared under what would be considered Old Testament. Basically, in Muslim faith, it would be considered halal. So you don't mix milk of the mother with meat of the calf. So like having a cheeseburger is not good. Other things such as like shellfish, exoskeleton, bottom-dwelling animals are considered not clean. So you don't eat catfish, mussels, shrimp, lobster, crabs. It's just basically like when you'll see like go to a grocery store, you'll see like a triangle with a K inside. That means that it's been prepared. It's kosher. So they had a rabbi give proper blessings over during the process of slaughtering the cow or whatnot. So
the salt in your baking aisle, in the big box, it says kosher salt.
It means it's been a rabbi's blessed it, and
I never knew. See, I wouldn't have known that because that's not my cultural background.
No, but you go ahead and pass it in the grocery store all the time. Kroger, Owens, any of them, yeah.
Wow.
And you probably pick it up and take it.
Yeah.
And you buy it, and you just see kosher, you're like, okay, whatever. That's kosher.
Whoa.
Yeah. That's the Jewish culture.
Fascinating is that?
But, and we can go in so much further, dive into that with just kosher itself being from the Middle East and all the other different religions.
Yeah.
But for us here, he describes it better than I do because I don't really talk religion. I've found that I don't talk politics and religion for a reason.
Yeah.
Because everybody seems to want to fight about it. And I just want to have a conversation like you and I are having right now. That's it. We understand each other's side, our differences, and that's it. We move on. We're still friends. It's all good. And that's how our group of friends are too. We're all different.
Yeah.
But we're non-practicing, but we practice. And that's the part is that we just don't have pork because he doesn't eat the pork. But I still get my bacon. That's it.
when we go out for like breakfast or something, she'll get bacon, and
he doesn't touch my plate.
I don't.
He leaves for the weekend. I'm like, yes, I can go get my package of bacon, but I clean everything up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow. Well, like I said, my goodness, we could talk for so long, but I have like looking down. But no, thank you for like informing me about stuff like that, because I might have read it in some sense of the term, but like it's cool that even in our small communities that there's so many different kinds and cultures and
the thing is that we look like you. I don't have my hair covered. I don't wear a wig. I don't wear a scarf on it, but I'm still Jewish. You know, it doesn't make me bad in whatever way, but I'm right in the backyard of somebody that's a Catholic or a Lutheran. And we don't bring up that we're Jewish with everybody else because that's when we're looked down upon. So yes, Judaism, Jewish people are still looked down at. But in specific areas of the country and communities. So we're just like, whatever.
No, well, thank you for like talking to me about the things and all about the farm.
But this is what we have to offer.
Yeah.
And then this is from my growing up to right now. This is why I'm here. This is what we're doing.
I love your passion. I love your reasons, and you're constantly looking for, okay, how can I introduce this, and how can I do this, and how can I do it?
I'm always trying to market something. I'm always, my brain is always going, he hates
love
it. You
it.
have a zillion tons of ideas. I'm like, yes. He goes, just pick one. I'm like, I can't.
He's nodding his head a lot. Yeah.
That's a mind of a marketing person, and somebody that's very optimistic and just an idealist person is just, you're constantly always trying to find, not necessarily a way to make a quick buck, but in order to keep everything going.
Yeah.
Because you got to keep the whole wheel moving.
Yeah. Well, I will say, this probably will end up being like maybe possibly a part 2 here, but I need to, can you tell the listeners where they can find out more about you, follow you? They already know I stalked you on Facebook, so we know we could find you there, but tell me how we can support you as a farmer and a homesteader.
Oh, yes. Well, right now I have the Facebook of Templar Farms, and it is TEMPLAR Farms. And the reason for Templar Farms is from the Knights Templar. Oh. Again, on my dad's side, they're Masons. And that name came from when we first got our bees and they started the business, and we're all in the kitchen processing honey, trying to think of a name. We're all coming up with different names, and then Dad immediately goes, the honey is the gods, and we're still again throwing out ideas. And then one of us, I don't remember who said it, and amongst all of us is that, isn't there something said about it in the Masonic whatever? We're kids. And he's like, hold on that thought. He had to do some research really quick. He got out his Masonic Bible and come to find out, yep, it's called the Knights Templar. So we went from the Knights Templar because of the honey from the desert and Jewish people, and now again you put the family together on all that, and it's originally was called Templar Honey and Seed. My parents sold seed at the same time, and then they dropped that, so it was just Templar Honey. My mom, with all of that, because we're getting all this excess wax, she did research back in the early 90s when we didn't have internet yet, so she had to go to the library and found out about, they're called chandlers. Always mess it up. And they were people that made candles out of beeswax, because that's what you had medieval times. And like I said, she really dove into that, and so she named her end of the business the chandlery.
How cool.
Yes, because my mom being from the old country, being Orthodox Catholic, now years later when they retired, out of all of us, I got both businesses, and I have this farm. Of course, we get this farm, we're like, what do we call the farm? So I'm like, you know what? We're both Wisconsinites. He goes, yeah. I'm like, bear with me on this. You got people like Little Bohemia up in Wisconsin. He goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay, come on. I led you down the path. He's like, oh, I'm like, Little Wisconsin, Little Bohemia, because the migrants came from Bohemia, and they called their new settlement up in Wisconsin Little Bohemia because it reminded them of home. I'm like, the farm reminds me of home. It's not the Driftless area, but there's farms everywhere. Dairy farms. So it stuck. So the farm's called Little Wisconsin. But because I inherited and acquired the business from my folks, I combined the farm with Templar Honey, because I also got the bees from my dad, together and called it Templar Farms.
I love
So there's the story of how it's named Templar Farms, and that's the business end of it. But we have a rock out front that says Little Wisconsin.
I love it. So you have Facebook?
I have Facebook. I am not computer literate. I'm still working on this part. I do have a website that is templarfarms.com, I believe. So you can find me there as well. Otherwise, as far as I know, that's about it, really.
Now, do you do any...
Oh, yeah, I do historical reenactments.
Okay.
Yes. In the past, I would do at least 5 to 10. Plus, I did farmers markets on the weekends. And also, like, Wednesdays and Fridays. But because I also work off the farm, I've had to figure out which molehill I needed to survive on.
Yeah.
So I have, just so I can get some sleep, because I didn't want to feel like I was in college again.
Yeah.
This year, because we've had a kind of an upset that we're revamping and reworking the entire farm, we're really working on the infrastructure this year, that I will be only attending a couple different reenactments. And I am actually really also truly working on getting into the state fair, into the Pioneer Village area
Oh, that'd be cool.
with the business.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yes,
That'd
it'd
be
be
cool.
so awesome.
It would be cool.
So, like I said, there's a lot of things in the works. But yeah, so right now it's Facebook, word of mouth is another big one, and reenactments. The different, like, Mississinawa will be at. So there's another reenactment. The 1812 Mississinawa. The, I will not be doing Pioneer Days here in Huntington in September, but I will be doing Trail of Courage over in Rochester at the Historical Round Barn Museum.
How
There
cool.
on 31.
Yeah.
So I do that one. That actually might be it for moving forward for this year, because we've already had several that passed.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because, like I said, I'm really trying to focus on the farm itself, and just so I don't have buildings falling down.
Yeah.
I need fencing to be put up, and trying to also find funding. I'm working on trying to get with grant writers, and also look for grants myself in order to keep everything going and flowing, and fulfill that vision that I have for this place.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking time. I have enjoyed this so much. I love learning and just listening to your stories, and like you just are so personable and I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like over here with my jaw all the way to the floor just listening to you talk, and hopefully I'll be able to come. I go to a lot of reenactments, so I'll have to stop and see you and then watch you and do all the things, so I love that sort of thing. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if I have to ask you one last thing, it would be, what advice would you give to somebody young, my age, looking at life? What would you say?
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. Just go ahead and do it.
Do it.
I told myself I wouldn't have regrets, but we all have regrets. My regret is not staying in Wisconsin and acquiring that 300-acre farm that I found when I was 12. The other regret is not heading out to Montana. I know they're two different avenues, but whichever would have came up. So no regrets is kind of you're going to have them no matter what, is to just do it. Literally, just do it. You know, if you don't know how to do it, find somebody. We have access today with technology that I didn't have back in the 90s. Yes, that's when the internet was coming out. I'm the class of 96. That's when we were just getting computers into the home. Today, they're at your hand. Your cell phone, no matter what it is. I don't care. Your cell phone. You have a computer right there. You have a calculator that we were told that you will never have available to you. It's right there. So it's, like this farm, that's what it's here for. It is for people that just want to have that experience. It is, hey, I was wondering, can I show up and possibly shear a sheep? I have no problem with that. Sure. Wear grungy clothes. Yes, you're going to get dirty. Yes, you're going to get knocked around. But you know what? We're going to have fun. Yeah. That's the whole point, is always keep a positive mind. When everything just looks like there's no way out. Everything is just, financially, the tornado came through, whatever. Car crash, like myself. The only way is up. And that's how I always looked at it. And that's what my grandfather, my dad's father, Grandpa Nofsinger, said to me. And that's one of his last dying words that I'll always remember. Keep one foot in front of the other. So if I had to say anything to anybody, just keep one foot in front of the other. And find somebody if you want to experience something. You want to learn how to utilize heavy equipment. bobcat, whatever. Go to a farm. Talk to the farmer. We love to talk. We'll show you, or we'll point you in the right direction. You know, there's schools out there. It's just do it.
Well, thank you. I
hate to
that.
sound like a Nike commercial, but you know, just do it.
I love it. Well, I will let you go. We've got some portraits we gotta take, and but I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. It was so fun, and I love the whole experience of sitting in the hay. I miss it. I used to work on a farm, and I love all the feels. So this is the epitome of everything I hoped for with this podcast. So thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem. My pleasure.
Yay! I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode because I sincerely did. I am incredibly inspired every single time someone walks into my studio and sits down. I am able to look in their eyes and I am welcomed into their story, and that is priceless. It is a great honor and also a great responsibility to think that when they said yes to come onto my podcast, that meant that they trusted me. They trusted me enough to allow me to help tell their story, and to me, that means the world. So thank you to my guest. If you'd like to connect with my guest, if they left any or mentioned any of social media or websites, it will be in the description box below, as well as on my Facebook and Instagram if you want to see what they look like. I have a portrait and a small little write-up along with anything they mentioned within this podcast. So I hope today that you have been inspired to look at your own life and to see that just living your life is important. But I want to inspire you as well to actually document your life. You have an importance in this world, and I want you to use your voice. So it doesn't have to look like 6 pages in a journal or being on a podcast. It can look like a line a day. If you'd like to connect with me, make sure you head over to hereinmytime.com. That is where I have a bi-weekly blog, as well as some of my portfolio work with photography, and where you can also contact me through email at hereinmytime@gmail.com, as well as follow me on Facebook and Instagram. This is at Here in My Time as well, here.inmytime for Instagram, and I have weekly content. Thank you so much for your support. It means the world. And until next week,